Hello everyone. I have a wonderful friend called Dorothy Cook, who years ago wrote a piece called St. Columba's Moon.
I have to say that even today, I can put myself right back into that moment. That astonishing sight.
She asked me at one point to write it down for her, because she just had it in her memory. And I've always wanted to do a Harp Tuesday episode on it, so here we are. At the end of this episode, you'll be able to hear Dorothy tell the full story of how she wrote it, and I'll play through it as well. But for now, what I want to do is to just sort of look at this piece, look at some of maybe the technical challenges involved. And it's freely available. You can download it and play it to your heart's content. And let's take a look. So there aren't any fingering or not much indication on here. She had in mind something more like the sort of the oral tradition of O'Carolan, where here's the basic recipe, here's the notes, and you do with it as you wish, right? As it sounds to you. And I want to talk about, first of all, this left hand pattern. So throughout a lot of the piece, we get a 5-note pattern in the left hand going up. And I did an episode a number of years ago talking about a similar pattern. And so in this case, we're always starting with a 1-5-8 shape, in other words, an octave plus a fifth. And that will always be done with 4-2-1. 4-2-1. Then we're going to cross under, and we want to end up with a thumb on this top note for sure, so that we can connect down maybe to 2 on the next one. And it's this note, this middle note here, that we have some freedom with. It kind of depends on what feels good to you. So I'm going to demonstrate with the right hand so you can see a little bit better. You could cross under with 3. You could cross under with 2. Totally up to you. I think for me, in general, crossing under with 3 feels better, but there's no right or wrong answer. It's what feels best under your hand. And so this pattern, same fingering, 4-2-1, 3-1, 2. I'm using 3 there. And we get this lovely little 2-bar intro. I think you can potentially take quite a bit of time at the end of this. Maybe a fermata, right? A little bit of time. And then here comes the melody. So that's the left hand throughout, most of it. And then with the right hand, the challenge that we sometimes run into is that the hands are kind of overlapping. So the first spot we get that is maybe this bar here, where this, because this is treble clef, so this left hand C is the same C that the right hand is going to play a moment later. So that means we can't place that right hand too early. If we want to place 1, 2, 3 here, the left hand can't play that C. So because of that, what I would suggest, first of all, I would suggest coming off on these longer notes, kind of like a chance to let them ring. It also means if we went, say, 3, 2, 1, 2 here and connected all of that, what would happen is we hear that E get stopped because we're replacing on it. Whereas if we go, it rings a little bit longer. But I do want to put 2 here. Let's see, we can't quite see what the next note is. It's a D. So I'm going to put 2 here, but I'm going to cross over the thumb. 1, 2, 1, 1. So 2, 1, 2, 1. So I'll go ahead and cross the thumb, connect the thumb to the D, but I'll be coming off earlier. Here again, we run into this collision, right, where this B in the left hand is the same B in the right hand. So we can't place too early in the right hand. We can't go 1, 2, 3, 1. We can't connect from the D all the way along here. No, instead, we have to, I see, there we are. We have to come off. And then we can go 2, 3, 1, which is a typical fingering for that type of pattern. You could go 1, 2, 1 again. All of these are just kind of what I'm doing, up to you, but we do have to wait. Same thing here. Here's a collision between this A So just being aware that a lot of the time on this longer note, we have to come off on the first note of the pattern. And then, yeah, so we get this. This is the same as the beginning. And now at bar 9, we're repeating the melody. It's an exact repeat until we get to bar 14, so from bar 13. And now here, this is new. Now we get this middle section. With these lovely rolled left-hand chords, 1-5-8 shapes. Just to clarify, almost always when we have a rolled chord, say in the left hand and there's a single note in the right hand, what happens is that right hand is the last note in the sequence. So boom, 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 boom. Rather than left, left together, it's left, 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 right. And here again, we run into a lot of spots where we have to watch for collision. This B is the same B. So we're going to come off. I just use 1 and I come off. That's supposed to be a comma, by the way. And then I'll do the 2, 3, 1. Here, these A's are the same, so we have to come off here, even if we're going to just do 2 here. And here, this G and this G are the same. So, and I'll demonstrate in a moment, we're going to play 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, but we're going to come off after playing the thumb. So if I demonstrate this first bar that you can see, I'll play the thumb and come off. 2, 3, 1. Come off. 2. And then here, I can't place everything. So we also have to wait to place the left hand until after we've played that F. So a good chance to practice getting ready, preparing, finding the shape, but dropping down at the last minute. We get that same little pattern again where we're going to come off with a thumb. I'll drop the left hand down just to make sure you can see this. And this, I kind of like in this spot, taking advantage of the fact that the left hand is placing on the note the right hand just played, and actually trying to place a little bit early so we get that semi-staccato kind of detached sound. It's kind of a neat, different color at that point. Something you could play around with. You certainly don't have to do it, right? Some similar stuff here on this next page, and eventually, so bar 20, I think, is the high point of the piece. I'll go from 19. Sorry, try it again. And by high point, I mean the loudest point, the part that the whole piece is kind of leading to this moment. This lovely sort of move up to this chord, potentially, at least that's how I hear it, right? And then we wind our way down. And you could hear there that I was taking quite a bit of time, right? I think there's this freedom to kind of play it as you hear it. And then we come back to sort of the same beginning melody with the left hand a little bit lower. And eventually we start to wind our way down here on this ending so that we get harmonic. And then a downward rolled chord. So the harmonics is nice because on the lever harp, they're both open strings. On the pedal harp, they're both naturals. So if you find the first one, you know the next ones should just be right in line. And then this nice little chance to do a downward rolled chord. So there you have it. And I invite you to sit back, listen to Dorothy tell the story of how she wrote this piece, and then, as I say, I'll play through the entire piece.
The Anglican Church used to have a marvellous camp on Thetis Island. It was a big house and a large ground going down to the water. It was called Camp Columba. And there was another house which housed the clergy down by the water. Big house on the top, down by the water, us. And there were 12 of us. And I had Marilyn Rommel come to be our instructor. So in fact, there were 13 of us. And I was the chief cook and bottle washer and everything, as well as being a student. And of course, there's a tremendous weight of pressure here to have everything perfect. So I knew we wouldn't be able to get fresh bread. So I took a bread maker. Now, I wasn't used to the bread maker. And now we were going to have beautiful bread for breakfast every morning, because I was going to make the bread at 7 the night before, take it out before I went to bed, then it wouldn't be all sweaty inside the machine. And it worked. But one night we went to a party at the big house. A very late party. We came home. It was a musical thing. They had guitars, we had harps. We had a marvellous time. The American Stone Cutters Association, or whatever that was. Anyway, so when I got home, I realized that we were almost out of bread, and it was now really late, and I didn't want to make it and leave it in the machine. So Marilyn said, well, you can reset those things to work when you want them to. And I thought, what a great idea. I'll set it to start at 3 a.m. So I did, and I went to bed, and I'm lying there thinking, what does Marilyn know about bread makers? She makes bread by hand. I bet she's never used a bread maker, and neither had I. And so now I'm lying sweating thinking, we won't have bread in the morning. I know it's not going to start. So I tossed and turned, and I got up to go down at about 2:30 to make sure I was there when it started. I don't know why I was so worried, but when I got downstairs, there was a full moon. Now, this house had a great big window opposite the water. Moon rising over there, huge, coming up on this water, and the entire world was lit up. It was breathtaking. And I stood there and felt, I am worried about bread. And look at all this stuff that's going on around me. How silly of me, you know. I almost went out for a walk in the moonlight but then I thought if you do that, somebody might come down and lock the door. And you'll be out there for the rest of the night. I went to bed at 3. The machine had started. And I just felt marvellous. Not the next morning, the same morning, I had this moonlight in my head, and I thought of the left hand pattern. And that's what I started with. It took me about 2 weeks to get it all right. But of course I don't write music down, I just keep it in my head. I'm very poor at writing music down. Really. Theory has never been my strongest. So I'm glad you wrote it down. I think that was a very smart move to have you write it down. So that's how it happened. I have to say that even today, I can put myself right back into that moment. That astonishing sight. So yeah, St. Columba's moon.